Alright, so this is the inside of our simplifying expressions. And so the top one, we have a times b plus c. And so in order to do that, we need to take the a times the b and then times the c. So we're going to have a times b plus a times c. And in algebra, we can write that without the times sign in between it. It still means a times b plus a times c. Okay. Same thing with subtraction. I'm going to distribute the a, and so you will hear me say hippity hoppity distributive property. So the Easter bunny goes hopping along distributing. This isn't even close to Easter, but that's rabbit. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to multiply a times b, but this time it's going to be minus a times c. And so again, I don't have to have the times sign in there, so I can just write it a b this way, which means a times b minus a times c. Then, as we move on to the next side, it says to identify the parts of an expression. And so each thing that is separated, but we have this, this, and this. They are separated by the plus and minus signs, and those are each called terms. Okay? Within a term, we can have coefficients and variables. And so the coefficients are the numbers in front of letters. The letters are our variables. If we have a number that is by itself, like the 8, it is called a constant term. Sorry about that. And then if we have just the letter by itself, it would be just the variable. Okay? So, like terms are those that have the same variables. The coefficient can be different, but they have the same variables. So, if we look at this example, we have a negative x and a plus 2x, so those were what we would call like terms. Okay? Because they both have the same last name. Okay, so think of the variable piece being the last name. And so they have to look exactly alike in order to be like terms. And so that gives us that piece. Alright? So if I come down here, and on part 1, I want to use my distributive property. And so I'm going to multiply the 2 times each number here, each term. So I have 2 times x. Plus, that's a times sign, that's a dot, sorry, and 2 times 3, you'll see me use parentheses more than dots because it's easier. And then, so that 2 times x I could write just as the 2x like that, but it still means 2 times x, plus 2 times 3 is 6, and that gives me my simplified version. Here, the 3 is on the outside by itself, but I'm going to go backwards, okay? I could do it each term inside here times the 3 as well. But I have 3 times 2n minus 3 times 6. And then I multiply that together. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then I have the times n. Minus 3 times 6 is 18. Excuse me. Here I have 4m. So that whole term is going to multiply times each term inside of here. So I'm going to have 4m times m minus 4m times 5. And so when I multiply, I've got the 4. Then when I multiply m times m, I use my exponent there, make it m squared, or m to the second power. Minus 4 times 5 would be 20m. These are not like terms, okay, so I cannot put them together because one has an m squared and one has an m. So our final answer is just the 4m squared minus 20m. And then finally on this one, we're going to think of this negative out here as a negative 1 that's going to be multiplied times each term inside there. So that's a y, sorry. And so negative 1 times 4 minus negative 1 times y. So negative 1 times 4 makes that a negative 4. And here, when I have these two negatives together, a negative times a negative makes that a positive. And then I have my 1 here. 1 times y is y. So I have negative 4 plus y. And I can leave it like that, or I can write it as y. So I don't need the plus sign in front of it anymore, but I do need the minus in front of the 4. So y minus 4. Or I can write it like that. So either way would be correct when I write it that way. For this last one, and this is the last one for this video. All right, for number 5, first I want to look at the terms. So my terms are negative 7y, 8, 6y, and negative 13. My like terms, the ones that are alike, I have negative 7y and 6y are alike. And then we have 8 and negative 13 are alike. The coefficients are the numbers that are in front of each variable. So my coefficients in front of the y values, I have a negative 7 from this one here. And I have a 6 from this one here. So those are my coefficients. My constants are the numbers that are by themselves. They're the numbers that are alone. So the 8, and keep the sign with it. So it was a positive 8 and a negative 13. So an 8 and negative 13 are my constants. And so for this one, if I were going to simplify that, then if I have negative 7y, I can combine these two together. So if I have negative 7y plus 6y, well, negative 7 plus 6 is negative 1, so I have negative 1y. And then I have 8 and negative 13, so 8 minus 13 would be negative 5. And so that was what I would get if I were to simplify that. So that's these two sections. The next section, the last section, will be in a different video, so look for it. It will be called Simplifying Expressions Part 3.